Hi everyone, Katie here. Welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a little bit different today. I am going to do an album flip through of my Peru album. If you're familiar with my channel, you have definitely seen some layout from our trip to Peru last year in 2021. I've created 3 albums actually to document that entire trip, so I will flip through them. In this video, 1 album at a time, so there will be 3 videos. This is my first time doing an album flip through, so I hope you like it. Thanks so much for watching. So, I started out here with, of course, an airplane video, or I'm sorry, an airplane layout. I really loved these little airplanes in the background, and then, of course, the B-side is this typed words here. I did use a bunch of staples with my We Are Memory Keepers staple punch board, and I also curled the edge of this and painted it, which I liked. It added a little more texture and interest, in my opinion. And this was, the height of COVID, so you'll see a lot of masks. This one is one of my favorites, just because it's a little bit of everything from our trip. I have some Peruvian soles, I have boarding passes, the organization we went with, the travel agent, was Caipi Peru. That was a lanyard we had. This was even just on a water bottle, but I just liked how branded and themed everything was. So just little bits and bobs from our trip, it all landed here, and I did a little bit of journaling about it. But when you get a ticket, like this was a ticket, there a little boarding pass, things like that, and it's like, oh, I don't really want to do a whole layout about that, but it fits perfectly in, all combined here. And this right here is a pocket, so it all sits in there. Lima. This was our first stop, and this is actually 2 pictures. It's not a panoramic, and if you look closely, they don't line up perfectly, but it worked out. That was the view from our hotel room. I have a nice big cluster of a bunch of random things that I had, and I think it worked out nicely. Next, I know I have a video for this layout, but man, it was my first time seeing the Pacific Ocean. What a way to do it, right? And here, Love Park. This was where I first started using the oh goodness, now I'm going to forget, but Obed Marshall's first line, which was absolutely perfect, had perfect timing because it's got little Spanish phrases. Now, while I do not speak Spanish, just a little tiny bit, enough to get through Peru, I love having some of the little Spanish phrases in here. This was pretty cool, an Incan ruin here. I tried to match the background with kind of the pictures and doing a mixed media, kind of like, very brown, adobe kind of looking things, and I think that turned out nicely. I liked it. Now here, this was not one of my favorite layouts, not gonna lie. I tried a new stencil. I do like these letters that I used. I used a whole bunch of little stickers, and ultimately it's like, this is fine, it gets the job done. Was not one of my favorites, but I am not going to redo it. Not everything is perfect, and that is okay. Now this was my first double page spread. We went on a walking tour of the city. Well, this part was walking, so it just had a lot of little shots from the places that we were. This was just Lima. We got to see a lot of different things. Murals. I even thought their caution tape was interesting to me. Just different from ours. Llamas, statues. And they were redoing a lot of their government buildings because so much was shut down for COVID. This one was a lot of fun. We got to go to a chocolate museum and enjoy some of the sweet treats there. So absolutely perfect for some of the embellishments I had. And I really, really love, this is all stacked washi. I really liked how that turned out. Again, from Obed Marshall. Now here's another mixed media. We got to go into the San Francisco Monastery and Catacombs. Some stenciling back there with some texture paste. Also, you can see splatters. I've got just a tiny bit here of heat embossing and even scalloped edges with paper on the other side. Just a little bit of everything. And I think the layout turned out nicely. This, I know I have a video on this layout, and it has to be one of my favorites. Not only because this was just a fantastic experience. This was just dinner. We just went to a restaurant across the street from our hotel called Maria, and it was absolutely phenomenal. It was very, well, it lacked crowds. Again, pretty much everything lacked crowds because we were traveling during COVID. But the food was fantastic. We got our first pisco sour, which is kind of Peru's drink. And I just really love how this turned out. And then up here, that is a line of glitter stuck to double-sided tape. And I don't know, I felt a little clever for doing that. I liked it. I certainly know that I'm not the first person to do that. But I was able to use a few scraps and, just one piece of paper, but kind of use it, cut it, so I could creatively put it on 2 pages. And then I also, of course, added a few little, scraps that I collected, our receipt, and everything is so well branded, it seems, in Peru. Like, we even got little coasters that, were branded for the restaurant, little cards, everything. I was just super impressed. And it was a good meal, great experience. Now, we left Lima and headed to Juliaca. We were on the airplane. We had to wear face shields and face masks, and really, I think we might have been supposed to wear 2 masks at the time, but I think that may have been something lost a little bit in translation. We were lucky enough to be vaccinated at the time, whereas most Peruvians were not, so the rules were a little bit more strict. But you can see I kind of used a variety of travel-themed things. This is not, all one collection. These are just travel bits and bobs that I had and kind of put together. You can see there's some tributaries of Lake Titicaca where we were going, and then some of the beautiful mountains we flew over. Now, we went to Puno, and these are we kind of came in on a hill and drove on in, so you can kind of get almost aerial view of the city. And then Inca Cola is their, kind of like their beverage of choice, their soda of choice, and we had to try that. I must say I'm not a big fan, but we had to try it. And you can see I used a whole bunch. This was like floral sticker city, it's so satisfying to me to just like use a ton of stickers and get those products used, especially because like these, I know these stickers, I swear I had in like 2003 or something. So it was great to use them, and I like how it turned out. Maybe didn't super fit the theme of Puno, but that's okay. It worked out for me. Now this next layout was a little crazy. I had an idea, and I ran with it. So it's very busy, as you can tell. These are all Instax mini prints size frames. I had cut out a bunch of these for my December daily project, because I use these little Instax size photos, and I just had so many of them, and I'm like, I know I'm not going to use all these. What if I put it together and make a background? So I will say it didn't turn out exactly how I wanted it to, but again, I think all of my scrapbooking is about trying new things and seeing what I like, what I don't like, and then also documenting my memories. I still got my pictures on here, I still got my journaling on here, so even if it's not my favorite background, it's all good. Another double page. This, again, I really like this layout, and I think it's just because, like, it takes me back. This was such a fantastic experience. This is the view from our hotel room. We were on the 3rd floor, and it had a little balcony that overlooked this beautiful square. You can see at night and during the day. It was just so pleasant and just a really cool experience. Now, this was also in Puno, which is at a very high elevation. I want to say it was like 12 to 13,000 feet. So we were feeling the elevation, as we are not, from a high elevated part of the world. So that was also kind of an interesting experience that I was able to document here. And I also really love how this layout turned out. because it has so many photos on it, and a lot of times things get lost, or I don't feel like I can do much to embellish it, but I feel like each photo is still its own individual photo and have pretty embellishments. At least that's my opinion. This is another one. Love this page, but also that's probably because I loved this experience so much. So you can see I've got some kind of random stickers, like they're not all from a collection or anything. And some bike stickers here because we got to ride in a little bike taxi down from our hotel to the lake, which was really cool. And then I also had this journaling card that was in a circle, just like a bike wheel. At least that's what made me think of, and I thought that was perfect. Now here, I also really like this layout because it was an interesting, for me at least, use of mixed media. So this is Vicki Boutin texture paste, but I don't actually have the like blue color that it is. I actually mixed some Heidi Swapp Color Shine in with my texture paste to create that color, which I thought reminded me of the lake. Put it through a stencil here, added some glitter on double-sided tape, a few little Frankenstein thickers there, and then I took my Scrapbook.com gold ink pad here and just drug it along to kind of create just a little bit of something here to go with my journaling. And then, of course, there's us on the boat, the lake, and another picture of the lake. It was just absolutely spectacular. Next, we have another great use, in my opinion, of Obib Marshall. I really, really, really loved his Buenos Dias. That was the name of the collection. Buenos Dias collection to use for our trip to Peru. I just added a little bit of gel, my Jelly Roll Sparkle right here. I'm not quite sure if you can see that, but I've got sparkle lines in between each of these. Took some pictures of us on the lake. We got to go on the top of the boat, which was really cool. It's just, a quick layout for extra pictures that the pictures were important to me, but I didn't need some, colossal layout for it. So I think that worked out. Now I know I have a layout video for this one, and I really like how it turned out as well. I have a lot of heat embossing here, and I did this with Amy Tangerine stamps and an orange embossing tinsel that I never thought I would use other than Halloween. Got it on clearance. It really worked out. And I just love the extra detail and texture and sparkle that it adds to my photos here. And then I think it's, a little something extra, but because of the solid back here, your eyes still are drawn to our photos. And then, of course, the amazing time that we had on the Uros floating islands. Now, this was still on the floating islands. This one, I feel like this is one of my layouts that doesn't really fit the photos so well. I like the theme. I think the colors go pretty nicely together. They're mostly from Amy Tangerine, all in that same collection. But I feel like I could have had some, evening party or something with this, whereas I chose my floating islands photos, which is totally fine. You know what? I still like it. Got some sequins in there, and then a few pictures of us on the reeds, which was really cool. Maybe even cooler was that we got to go to the president's house to check it out. They live very differently than we do here in the United States, and it was extremely interesting to see. We have their little kitchen. That's a little birdie there, and then that is the president of the island and his home that we got to see. And this had a lot of journaling because it was an eye-opening experience, and it was so interesting to learn and see, and we were incredibly grateful for him to open up his home to share with us, and it was just a really great experience. So you'll see a lot of journaling on a lot of these, and that's why. Now this is another page from the floating islands. You can see that I've got a lot of the Obib Marshall again, Buenos Dias, a little bit of my mixed media back here through a stencil. This again, I mixed my Vicki Boutin creative effects with something. It may have just been straight glitter, to be honest. You can see I got a little bit of extra sparkle and shine there. I really like doing that to mix up the mixed media, just to make my pages a little bit different. This is another one. It's like I have a little bit to say, not a whole lot. I've done like 3 other pages about this experience, and there's more coming. So not everything needs to be, you know, huge monumental thing. And also, I love scrapbooking, so why wouldn't I make more pages if I could? Now, this was an interesting page. This was one of the last ones I did because this was a single page layout over here, and the next one's a double. So this was a page filler, but I really, really like what I did because I took all these little word bubbles. They were in a journaling page that I had. I want to say it was from Chamel, and I cut them all out, and then I added little notes, just little things about our trip that were interesting or fun, or just unfortunate, like this one. Due to flight delays and changes, our return trip from Cusco to Lima to Miami to Atlanta to Louisville took 24 entire hours. That part was a little bit unpleasant, but at least it wasn't going there. This one I really liked. We went east in order to see the Pacific Ocean, and if you notice, I live in Kentucky, so that doesn't seem, logical, but we did. We have a quote from our tour guide: "Enjoy every moment of your life, and drink too." I'm like, yes, that stuck with me. There are just a bunch of, little things that maybe didn't go with a layout very well, but I wanted to remember. So I put it here as our travel notes. And this was a cut file from Paige Evans. I just used my Cricut to cut it out, and I really like it. Now, here is another double page layout. This was, again, from the Uros Floating Islands. We got to go on a tour on one of their reed boats, which was super interesting, and we actually even got to eat one of the reeds because they're completely edible. So, using a lot of the Obed Marshall, Buenos Dias, again, let's see, I'm not seeing any of my Spanish phrases, but that's okay. Got a little bit of mixed media in the background, and I love how I made use of the different pieces. Like, this was not obviously a whole paper, this was a scrap, and I was able to use it to kind of bring those colors together, which I just really liked. And this was just super interesting because now they build their reed boats a little bit differently, and they actually use recycled plastic bottles in there. So that was really neat to see and learn about. The Island Adventure. Now you can see this is kind of like a bits and pieces coming together. You can see that not many of these pages actually go together, but I think that it really worked out. And it also, again, draws your focus to my pictures. We were going to the island of Amantani to stay with a host family for the next, 24, 30 hours and enjoy and see how they live. And it was absolutely fantastic and spectacular. So this was just when we pulled our boat up and got off. That was about it. But don't worry, you'll learn more about Amantani coming up here. This is the island. I took a few pictures. We had to kind of hike up a little bit to get to their specific home. Many groups live on this island, but we were going to a very specific place, that expected us. And just, these mountains, all the farming, their homes, it was just spectacular to see. This might be one of the best. This is Maruja. She was the woman who hosted us. She took us and another couple of travelers from our group and brought us into her home, fed us. She was fantastic. She spoke Spanish and Quechua, and we, knew a few Spanish phrases, so even with, I'm sure, us, fumbling and messing up, she was so kind and fantastic, and it was just an amazing experience. So I really wanted to make a layout that I thought was, kind of deserving of her photo. So I did a lot of mixed media. I love, personally, the colors here in the background. Those were done with Distress Oxide. Then I added some of my pink sparkly texture paste, got in some sequins there, and while it's a really pretty background, I think, you still have your photo and journaling, which, in my opinion, was most important. Also, really liked that I had the big title. Again, focus on her and how hospitable she was. Now, this is Maruja's home. Like I said, she invited us there, had us stay, and it's quite different than, the home that we live in here in the United States. So it was amazing to just see the difference, and oh my goodness, like, what a view, just around pure beauty all the time. So I used some Amy Tangerine here. I also, was able to toss in a few kind of older pieces that I thought the color palettes kind of lent themselves to well. Now, this next page, sorry, there's a toilet there. I noticed they don't have a lot of, toilet seats. And I'm not saying they can't own them or something. That's just like a difference that I noticed. So I did have to take a picture there. So ignore that if that's offensive to you. Sorry. It was interesting and I wanted to document my experience. And that right there was our room in Maruja's home. And here they had us all dress up in their traditional outfits. And we just, had a great time dressing up and being in their beautifully stitched and embroidered clothing. It was also nice because it was a little bit chilly. Not so much in the sun, but if you weren't in the direct sun, it was a little bit cool. So that was kind of neat too. Just great fun. And you can see this layout is very simple. This is a Vicky Bouton paper, so it's got, kind of like a faux mixed media. I added a little bit of stamping and put some ephemera together. That was it. But I have my journaling, I have my photos, so it's all good. Now, that evening we got to hike up Pachacata, so you can see that's my title there. This is another pretty simple layout. It's got a lot of journaling, it's got the photos matted on actually 2 different mats on just a pretty piece of background paper. A few little, hiking style embellishments. And at the top of Pachacata, this was quite a bit of mixed media here in the background. It's mostly just ink blending, a little bit of stamping, photos, and just a little bit of journaling because there's more to come. Amazing views though. Accidentally splattered ink all over my photo, which that was unfortunate. Highly recommend cover up your photos before you do ink. Oops. That's how it goes though. Now this is a double page layout, as you can see. I wanted the emphasis to be on these photos because we saw the sunset from the top of Pachacata, and it was just beautiful. So I wanted a layout that displayed my photos in a way that you could really take time to look at them. As the sun's going down, a nice picture of my husband right there. Just fantastic. And so there's not a whole lot going on. You can see I've got 2 different papers and then some little sparkly embellishments. I thought that went with, the sunset theme. Now that evening, we had a party. It was a lot of fun. We, again, dressed up in their traditional garb. And, there was all kind of party. You can even see some pictures over here. Dancing and music. It was a lot of fun. So I made this kind of, party page. Lots of stickers. These were old stickers I was happy to use up. Got some sparkle in there. I think it worked out. Now this was actually at the party. You can see the dancing pictures. This one, because it was a party, wanted to make sure it had a lot of sparkle. And you can see I've put a lot of sparkle. I believe I used my Stickles glitter gel just all over the background. Used sparkly thickers. Used, jeweled embellishments. I wanted to make it fun. Again, not a specific collection. not anything, just kind of putting it together and going with the flow. And ultimately, pictures, journaling, it works out. Oh my goodness. I always have to document the food. Breakfast may have been my favorite thing ever, and I think I still dream about those. I don't even know what they're called, but they were fantastic. Maruja made us breakfast, and it was fantastic. Pancakes and whatever this bread was, that was literally the best. Just delicious. Now, I had a fair bit of, baking or, home kind of stickers and stuff. I believe it was from an Echo Park or maybe a Cartabella set. So I used just a whole bunch of it because really I don't, as much food as I like to document, I don't have a lot of like home cooking kind of things. But this was fantastic. Amantani home cooking, absolutely delicious. I really, really wish I knew how to recreate these. Now here was Munya. Munya is an Andean mint, and it grows like everywhere on Amantani. And they would actually mix it in their tea and make tea from it. So we used it, one, to help, I guess it kind of opens up your sinuses maybe a little bit when you smell it. You do smell the mint, and they said that that would help us with altitude sickness. I don't know if it was a placebo or if it worked. Either way, it was nice. And it tasted good in the tea, too. So definitely wanted to document that. I have some die-cut little letters there. They didn't stand out very well, so I went over in white pen so that you can actually see what's going on. Again, this is another one. It's not like a collection or anything. I just put things together that I had, using scraps and things you can even see, behind my photos. And I think it worked out. Documented this well. Now, when you have way too many photos, I kind of went project lifestyle, where I put my photos here and just one journaling card. We got to go help. I'm sure we weren't that much help, honestly. Help do some harvesting of some fava beans. We hiked up the, not quite the whole mountain that was there, and I mean, just breathtaking views, absolutely spectacular. And then we got to harvest some fava beans in like the most beautiful location ever. So I have one page with just the breathtaking views, and another here with, us actually harvesting. Again, I'm not quite convinced that we were very helpful, but they were very nice and said that we were. So that's us actually, down in the dirt getting the beans, which then we packed on back, and that is the next part here. We were there with, our travel group, and we loaded all the beans in our packs, and we're about to head back to kind of like the village area so that we could do lunch. That was what was coming next. But again, you just had to stop and take it all in. I mean, just blue sky, blue water as far as you could see, and this beautiful scenery. I mean, it was just amazing. So, definitely needed to be documented. Now, this technique that I use, it's just washi tape. Instead of like putting my whole page on another whole page, therefore using 2 pieces of 12 by 12 paper, I made a border out of washi tape and folded the other end over. Which I think worked out really well, and it kind of framed my layout nicely. And got to use washi tape, because goodness knows, if you're like me, you have a ton of washi tape, like more than you can ever use. So this is a nice way to use it there. And also my photo mats here, that is for like a paper. It's a pattern paper that I didn't really love, didn't think I was really going to use, so I just used them as photo mats, and I think it really worked out. And I like how it turned out. Now, this was a really cool experience. So, lunch was being prepared, and potatoes were part of what we were going to eat. And they made this mound of dirt. First, they made a fire. Mound of dirt, clods. Potatoes were inside, and then they kind of collapsed the whole dirt pile on top of the potatoes, and then it all cooked in the coals. And then we got to eat the potatoes later, and they were very good. It was just a really interesting process to observe, and that's exactly what we were doing. We were getting to watch how this was all prepared. And then, of course, lunch. It was fantastic. We had we had lunch and dinner there. The first one was potatoes, veggies, what looked like little fava beans, I believe, and some fried squeaky cheese, which was actually really quite good. But I must say, the lunch on the second day was fantastic because we had fried fish, and it was rainbow trout from the lake, which was just really cool. And this is from two different pages. This is from the Amy Tangerine, one of her more recent collections. And I actually cut out this. So this was essentially like a scrap frame, you may say. Put it on top of another piece of paper and outlined it to kind of make it into a new background. And I think it worked out really nice. I like it. Alright, I promise we're getting close to the end, at least of book 1. When we got back to Puno, after we left the island, we were a little snacky, so we got some ice cream. And first of all, it was just fantastic. It was a great experience. Nice big cone, 3 scoops, and everything in Peru cost so much less than here in the United States. So we were surprised by how much we got for how little we paid, or how little we felt like we paid. Definitely need to be documented. This major heart eyes, these were white, and I used my Scrapbook.com gold ink pad to ink them up a little bit. They ended up being a little more yellow than I would have liked, but it worked out, especially because I have this yellow page behind it. This is another one where I was just kind of using scraps and things that I had to put together and create a layout of similar colors, and ultimately I like how it turned out. Got some, little puffy stickers in there. I like my little washi tape fragments here. And this one actually is mounted on 2 pieces of paper, because there was another page, underneath. I was like, ooh, I don't really know if I'm going to use that. Alright, 2 more layouts in this book. So, one of the things when we first decided to go to Peru, they have a pizza place called Machu Pizza, which I just thought was so funny and clever. So we had to go there. Unfortunately, because of COVID, they were doing not carry out, you had to order online, delivery only. So we ended up going to a pizza place across the street, but still had to document Machu Pizza and the food that we got at the other place with a delicious, I don't know if it was a smoothie, but it was some kind of mango drink. Absolutely fantastic. So good. And I also love how this paper, Vicky Boutin, of course, but it kind of looks like a pizza, because it's already in a circle. Again, using other little bits and bobs to embellish this. But again, your focus goes here, and you got your journaling. Now, our last piece of album number 1 is right here. This was the evening, our last night in Puno. We got to explore just a little bit, walk down, the streets with shops and things like that. Because it was nighttime, I wanted to use, a darker background with lots of sparkle. And I think it turned out nicely. I've got a little bit of tissue paper back there, but the sparkle, I think, really works, and I love sparkle, so there's never too much. Alrighty, well, I hope you enjoyed our flip through of album number 1. 2 more to come. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.